After the notification from the Murim system, the hero did not understand what nonsense he was being told. The system continued and told him to stop resisting senselessly and contact him whenever he needed help. The hero nonchalantly complained that his enemy was talking unilaterally and specified who he was. The boy smiled and asked if the author of this system was a heavenly warrior. The system warned him that it would again take everything from the hero, and he in turn took it as a challenge. He started smiling and warned that he would find him soon and tear him apart. The last system window told the hero to just wait. The guy remained standing in the same place. The hero decided that under no circumstances would he give up his. The hero's sister was walking crying. She decided to turn around, and was very upset that her brother didn't follow her. A couple of days later, the Sunshine Fest began. The commentators were warming up the interest of the audience. The arena where the fights were to take place was enormous. There was an enormous crowd of spectators cheering on their favorite hunters. All the people were happy, only the hunters knew the true purpose of the feast. At the same time, the hero suggested that the holiday was very similar to the Olympics. Lee Jiha said that the difference is huge, as the hunters get more attention. The power of the hunters is similar to that in the movies, and it is much more interesting to watch. The girl also added that this holiday helps improve the image of the hunters. The hero was staring into the void during all the stories, and seemed to be thinking about something. Jihan noticed this and asked if his sister was all right. She recalled that there hadn't been much of an atmosphere between her brother and sister since her arrival. The girl continued to press the hero with her speculations. The hero interrupted his friend and said he wanted a house in a quiet place. The girl at first didn't understand what all this was about, but after the hero told her about the message from the Murim system, her face immediately changed. The guy told her that the enemy was probably strong and that his only weakness was his sister. The girl was really shocked by what she heard. She stood up and still advised the hero not to abandon his sister. The hero, on the other hand, had the face of the show. He was sure she certainly didn't need such a brother. The hero told her that his sister had said so herself. He was saddened, but suddenly noticed a blow from his girlfriend, who was trying to bring him to his senses. The girl did not hit him so hard and said that even though it was none of her business, if her brother had said that to her, she would have been offended and would not forgive him. Their dialogue was interrupted by a man who was addressing the guild master. She was very embarrassed as the subordinate saw what they were doing. She went about her business, and the hero was left pondering what he had heard. The announcer announced that there would be an opening ceremony before the bouts began. This celebration was opened by the leaders of the Dawn and Dusk sections. One of the announcers enthusiastically turned to her partner and asked if it was true that Lee Jiha used to be in the guild with the Twilight sect leader. It was true. The announcer announced that such an encounter was unbelievable. The enemy reached out his hand to the girl to greet her. She, on the other hand, was incredibly annoyed by this. In spite of her inner anger, she smilingly introduced her old friend. She also expressed her surprise that the guy who was her deputy had risen so well. This provoked the guy, but the head didn't give him a chance to do anything about it. The man began to sneer back and said that the girl was always in the business of helping the weak. In his mind, the head promised himself to get rid of the hero with his own hands. The girl, on the other hand, said she would take the man's words as a compliment. They shook hands, and the Feast of the Sun was officially begun. The warrior shouted fighting in the arena. He used the skill of successive attacks and pressed his opponent. The girl's defense was cracking at the seams, and the man was ready to end the fight with a hard punch. He threw a punch, and she began to cough up blood. The duel was over, and the announcers announced the winner. The head of the Twilight Guild scoffed at the dawn, as the girl who lost in the arena was from the guild. Lee Jiha didn't fall for the man's provocations. The head decided to leave for a while. As he left, he expressed his hopes that the fight would entertain him. Lee Jiha still didn't fall for the provocation. The head was approached by his subordinate. He asked if he could kill the girl. The man said they shouldn't hurry. He also said that everything has its time. A new creation began, a battle of archers. The announcer himself was excited about the upcoming battle. He asked who his partner was rooting for, and he told him Cha Yu-sol. Another announcer recalled an incident that happened to the hero's sister. The hero's sister's partners were discussing her involvement. They were afraid she would get them killed in the fight too. The girl, on the other hand, said to talk about everything directly, not to whisper behind her back. The boys decided to leave. The girl was upset. She remembered the moment she cut her hair with her brother, and it upset her that they hadn't spoken since then. She became very angry and expressed her dissatisfaction out loud. The girl's monologue was interrupted, and she was invited into the waiting room. After hearing this, her eyes immediately filled with life. She wished it had been her brother. In fact, it turned out to be Lee Jiha, which made the girl incredibly upset. She asked what the deputy head wanted from her. She said she had just come to support her. Lee Jiha was concerned about the appearance of her subordinate. She decided to advise her brother and sister to talk so that things could be resolved quickly. The girl was a little angry and wondered since when did the deputy head interfere in family life. She said she was just worried about them. The sister said that she didn't like Lee Jiha because he was influencing her brother. It came to the girl's realization that after talking to the deputy, her brother wanted to become a hunter and continue to distance himself from his normal life. The girl was angry. She didn't understand why the hero sought even more power. She cried as her brother seemed a stranger to her. It was announced that the Battle of the Archers was beginning and the participants needed to come to the arena. Her sister wiped away her tears and decided to leave. Before her sister did so, the deputy head said that her brother had not changed of his own volition. He had been changed by the horror he had endured. Life in the other world was hell, where every second you had to fight for your life. Her sister was upset. She thought her brother thought she was unreliable. The girl walked away. Lee Jiha looked in the direction of the hero, who had been listening to their conversation all along. She began to speak to the hero. He said he was just passing by. The girl walked over to the guy. She took him by the scruff of the neck and told him to be sincere with his sister. She also told him to be straight with his sister because he was hurting her. The girl called the hero behind her to show a side of his sister that he didn't know about. The fight began. The archers immediately ran. The head, who was watching the duel, had some plan in mind to hurt the hero's sister. The girl kept in touch by earphones. Information about the enemy was reported to her. Remembering the words of the deputy director, the girl struck the wall with sheer force. Her sister was angry because he tells Lee Jiha everything, and she gets nothing. She is no longer the child he used to know. The enemy was moving, and the girl decided to attack him using her bow. She used the aiming arrow. The arrow hit right in the enemy's chest, and he dropped out. The girl destroyed one of her enemies in a heartbeat. She didn't want her brother to look down on her. In the past, the girl had ended up in an orphanage. She was incredibly upset. But still she believed that her brother was not dead, but alive, and would soon return to her. The girl looked blankly at the television, through which the goddess was broadcasting. She said that humanity must evolve in order to defeat the catastrophe. The adults immediately thought that the television set was broken. The girl continued to believe that her brother would return, and she soon earned a class in archery. She went to the Hunter's Academy, where she was bullied. Her classmates spilled milk on the poor girl. The reason for the bullying was that the girl studied for free, while others paid money for it. Her sister couldn't stand it and threw a full glass at her abuser. She said that if they were so jealous, then let them go and become orphans too. She said that if the guy wanted to go on, they should go out. That scared the bullies. After she graduated from the academy, she was a top student and was hired by the Big Dawn Guild. The wolf attacked the archer. She reached for a fragment of an arrow and killed the monster. Her thirst for strength and life allowed her to grow stronger with each fight. The deputy head came to the place to help the girl, but it turned out that it was no longer necessary. It was then that the deputy headmaster learned the name of the hero's sister. Lee Jiho was impressed by the girl's look, and she was sure that the sister would become stronger. The girl continued to get stronger. She was determined to last until her brother returned. She looked at the picture of her family. The girl was jealous of her brother for Lee Jiha. The girl started screaming again because her brother was treating her like a child. The girl noticed that it had become very quiet. She tried to contact the group, but ended up getting several arrows instead of an answer. She started to retreat, but one of the arrows hit her arm. It was a special group targeting the girl. It wasn't a serious wound, no muscle damage, just a small puncture in the skin. The only thing that confused the girl was that the competition arrows had a blunt tip, and that was definitely not it. One of the enemies jumped down and warned the girl that she might not wait for help. The sister was amused by this. She took the arrow out of her hand and said she had never hoped for anyone's help in her life. The girl threw out a drawn arrow, zarched 3 arrows into her bow, and warned that the enemies were finished. The enemies fired a huge number of arrows. Before they caught up with the girl, she was able to dodge. While still in the air, she used her archery skill. 2 of the 3 arrows fired hit the target. She was worried, as she missed one of her opponents due to a wound. The enemy, on the other hand, was very surprised by the hero's sister's skills. All the higher classes of archers work like rock, paper, scissors, so the enemies formed a team of rangers who should easily kill the sniper. The girl pondered, pleased by the fact that the pain was not yet severe. An opponent appeared on her right, ready to fire at any moment. The girl dodged and immediately launched a counterattack. Thanks to luck, the enemy was able to dodge the girl's arrows. He began yelling at the hero's sister. One of the arrows shot by the girl came back and hit the guy in the back. As a result, the girl was left alone with the enemy. They pointed their bows at each other. Their gazes collided. But the girl did not take into account the fact that she did not have live arrows. One opponent came to his senses and shot her in the side. She knew she would not be able to dodge that arrow. Suddenly her brother's voice appeared in her head and advised her to use martial arts. Her sister used her bare hands to take the arrow. The enemy was shocked, but the girl got up close to him and punched him right in the jaw with her fist. She reminded the last enemy that they were left alone, from which the man was furious and decided to surrender. Though the enemy admitted defeat, an arrow flew into the back of his head, rendering him unconscious. These were the men who, along with the girl, represented the Dawn. The victory of the Dawn team was announced. The people adoring the hero's sister behind her admired her strength. The girl wanted to cope on her own, but still looked at her brother and thanked him for saving her life. The hero, on the other hand, was pleased with his sister's work. Li Jia asked if the hero had seen what she wanted to show him. The boy had to admit what he had seen. The hero admitted that he didn't know much about his sister. He was surprised that that little baby sister was so strong now. Suddenly the boy was proud, for it was to be expected. After all, she was his sister. The girl was glad that the moment of battle was not broadcast, because her sister used martial arts. At the same time, the head was able to see the martial arts. A little while later the girl bragged about her strength to her brother. The hero did not want to admit it, so he kept silent. Seeing her brother's gaze, the girl began to say that for the great someone out there, that strength really is nothing. The hero interrupted his sister and told her that she was strong. He also apologized for keeping things from her. He also apologized for thinking she was a little girl like she was in the past. Her sister told him that she wanted to find the man who had ruined her family, and that was the reason she became a hunter. The girl believed that when she reached the highest level, she could get a clue. As a result, the sister extended her little finger to the hero and offered to forget the past. She also made one request, namely that the hero never leave her again. The hero said it was obvious, but the girl continued. The sister asked him to never hide anything from her again. This pleased the guy, and he promised to do everything as his sister asked. Also, the hero decided to clarify, because his nickname is not Immortal Someone There, but Immortal Sword God. At first, the girl was embarrassed, but then she was embarrassed. It was announced that a great battle would begin in an hour. The hero headed there and said goodbye to the girl. The girl asked about the hero's clothes, and he said they were comfortable, so he didn't think her choice was strange. The hero was also worried that his sister seemed to be specifically targeted. As a result, the girl assumed that the enemies just wanted to get rid of the pro-Dawn. The hero, on the other hand, wondered about the notification of the Murine system that he had once received, namely that he would lose everything. The deputy head introduced the hero to the head of the Dawn Guild. He immediately shook hands with the hero and generally behaved very energetically. The head communicated very well with the members of the guild, but the hero was a little different in his opinion of the head of the Dawn. The man said goodbye and wished him good luck in his preparations before the battle. The hero used telepathy to say he wouldn't be scorching martial arts. The lad also thanked the Zam for the fact that he was able to measure up to his sister. The girl smiled. She was glad that things were going well between them. The guild people approached the hero. They had heard a lot from the deputy head and seemed very excited to meet the hero. Suddenly the situation changed as the head of the Twilight Guild entered the room. The hero assumed that the head was involved in that case by order of the Heavenly Warrior. The man said he had only stopped by to say hello. The people were not particularly happy about such a greeting. Noticing this, the head said he had come to spy. He approached the hero and said he had heard a lot about him. For some reason the man asked if this was the first time they were meeting the hero. The guy shook hands with the enemy and said it was indeed their first meeting. The head could not understand. His heavenly harmony could not find any response. How could his sister learn martial arts if the guy himself is not from Urim? The hero looked at the man who had previously tried to get information on him and said he knew him. The secretary was shaking, and the hero and the head of the guild continued their unpleasant dialogue. The hero took off his mask of friendliness and promised that the man would regret choosing to attack his sister. It was a challenge that the head so desired. The hero promised to put on a very interesting show, and additionally for himself to wipe the Twilight Guild off the face of the earth.